I feel like this is a game that neither of us want to see happen. So, Morgan, I'll start with you right now. What has gone wrong with Clemson?
Well, there's a lot of little things. If you've listened to Dabo Swinney, you can kind of tell it's not just one big thing that they can just easily fix. And we still have a lot of hope that they can fix it. But as you remember, the LSU matchup, Clemson seemed to not really know what to do in the second half. They couldn't run the ball. They didn't even try to run the ball. And then against Troy, they also came out slow again. And then most recently against Georgia Tech, they came out slow again. So the first half has been a nightmare for Clemson. They can't seem to get the scripted plays together. But it all starts really for me with not just one player, but it starts with Cade Klubnik. He's not played the way we expected. He's not been the Heisman Trophy kind of candidate or front runner that many people thought he would be. He's a senior now, and he's been a big disappointment. He's gotten really went back to what you would probably have remembered when he was a sophomore, not staying in the pocket, not keeping his feet settled, scrambling when he doesn't need to scramble, and staring down wide receivers. So he's just not playing like somebody who wants to get drafted in the NFL. I mean, that's for real. But, on the defensive side of the ball, they also have struggled here and there, not living up to expectations on the defensive line. We have a lot of big names at Clemson. And I remember when you and I were on the ACC squad show, and I was joking that I really felt like Clemson's biggest question mark was the punter. And you were pretty upset with me about that one and thought there got to be more than that, right? Well, come to find out, there was more than that. And actually, the punter has been doing great. So, applauds to the punter out there. Thank you so much for actually being Mr. Consistency for us, because the rest of the team has really not lived up to expectations, whether it be the offense and the quarterback or the defensive line. Just really kind of been a lackluster start to the season.
When I look at Clemson right now, I think you kind of hit the nail on the head with Cade Klubnik. I don't think it really starts with him. I think he is most of the problem with Clemson right now, because even though Clemson's defense has some concerns and they have not been perfect, I brought this up, and you guys will hear this in the ACC squad episode that's coming out on Thursday. I mentioned how if you told any of us before the season that Clemson was going to hold LSU to 17 points, and when they were going to hold Georgia Tech to 24, most, if not all of us, would have said they're going 2-0, or at minimum, they're going 1-1. So if you're relying on your defense, which is supposed to be an excellent defense, to be perfect, then all of a sudden you start running into problems. Then all of a sudden, every little mistake that the defense makes gets magnified because you don't have an offense right now that seems to be clicking, an offense that can bail out a defense when they make a mistake. Fortunately, Morgan, you have Syracuse coming in. Syracuse is 2-1, so that's good. They got their own problems on defense. So, Morgan, this feels like almost the perfect time for Clemson to turn their season around and get some confidence on offense, right?
I think that if you look at what Syracuse did against UConn, you're thinking, I'm going to take the 17.5 and we're going to win this game because it's at home. And Clemson should have more talent than a UConn team. But then when you are a Clemson fan, at this point, you're extremely jaded. And now after Dabo Swinney came out and kind of grandstanded a little bit about his resume and all the things he's done in his career, there's more of that bitter taste, not to a point where you're trying to have another coach or anything, but just a bitter taste of, we don't want to hear what happened in 2010 or 2014. We want to know what you're doing right now in 2025 and what you're going to do in 2026. So right now, the here and now is the biggest question mark for Clemson. Syracuse is great because it sets up, it's a home game. They have a bye week next week. So really it's the last game of September for Clemson. And again, when you look at the antidote or what the blueprint, if you will, of what UConn did, to me, you got to get your speedsters to the outside. And that would be what they did. That's what I would do if I'm Clemson. They have some guys that they can do that as well. And really, Syracuse didn't win the game until like 45 seconds to go. So there's a lot of hope there that you would be able to cover the spread of the 17.5 as last time I looked. But again, can you really trust your gut and that hope and really take that with a Clemson team that struggles to get to 21 points? I mean, Clemson struggles to get to 21. Does that mean they have to keep Syracuse to 0? I don't know. That would be very, very difficult. I am concerned about Syracuse's offense, but to me, this does set up as if maybe this is maybe a rebound game, but also maybe one of those smoke and mirror games where if you do good, then you think you fixed it and you really haven't.
You are pretty much right about that. You know what's also funny about this, Morgan? I'm sure you're aware of this. Syracuse and Clemson have a very weird recent history. We all know about the upset in 2017. Mm-hmm. But what people may not remember is all the other times that Syracuse has kept it very close with Clemson, only to lose at the very end. Talking 2018, 2019 was a blowout. But then you also have 2020. A Syracuse team, that was when Clemson was at the peak of their powers with Trevor Lawrence and everyone still there. Syracuse was a 1-win team that year and were within a touchdown late in the third quarter. Doesn't make any sort of sense, right? 2021, 3-point game. And I don't want to talk about 2022. Can we not talk about that one and how that one ended?
Yeah, we'll forget that one.
That was a Cade Klubnik's quote unquote coming out party. For those that don't remember here. But Syracuse and Clemson, it is a fascinating matchup because, and we'll get more into it in the next segment here. You look at Clemson top to bottom, you look at Syracuse top to bottom. And if you're a Syracuse fan like myself, I don't like any of the matchups really. But you have Clemson, who is probably pissed off with the fact that they're 1-2, but they're also 1-2, and they have underachieved so far. So it's a matter of, are they gonna figure it out? And how long will it continue? Because if it continues, that opens the door for a Syracuse upset. But I look at it and say, if Clemson plays up to its potential, like we thought they would in the preseason, they should easily cover 17.5 points, right?
You would think. You would think. But it is one of those games where, I mean, to me, though, I have utmost respect for Fran Brown and the fact that he had his men doing suicides after not performing well, and I think that's what scares me a little bit, is that Fran Brown is in a lot of ways just like Georgia Tech, where this is a game that he can ultimately focus on. Clemson now, while they may be angry, and I struggle to see that. The fan base maybe has been showing that, but the players, I haven't seen it as much. But to me, Clemson is still now at the point where there's a lot of stress because there's 9 games to go and you can't really lose anymore.